It's a lot of hot air coming out of nothing. That's not going to make any sense or a difference. And I know that our friend Steven Jackson basically said on his podcast that Kyrie has called him crying every day about what's going on in the world and all that other stuff. Then I would suggest for Kyrie to just quit basketball and then go make a difference. Run for office maybe, or form some sort of other coalition away from basketball and use the platform of his fame and fortune to make a difference if he really wants to. So there's plenty of opportunities for people to do that. The interesting thing is that he is injured, so he is not going to be allowed to go to Orlando with his Nets teammates.
Yeah.
So he is basically telling everybody else, well, if I can't go, you guys shouldn't go either. So that's kind of like what's happening with him. But I don't know. It's just he's saying a lot of things that make no sense whatsoever. I understand he's emotional. That does make sense. I understand that he wants to try to make something happen. He feels like we are in a moment where things can really change in his eyes. And I understand all of that. But to try to take an entire league down or try to start your own league, good luck with all of that. There's no way that TNT and ESPN and everybody else is going to be paying Kyrie Irving the kind of money he's making with the Nets to start his own league. So you might as well forget that. But maybe it's just the emotions talking or whatever. But I just it makes no sense to me. It makes no sense to Kendrick Perkins. It makes no sense to LeBron James. It makes no sense.
Austin Rivers,
and they all said, look, he made some good points, and I think they're. I don't want to say the word radical, but I think they are significantly different than everybody else's ideas. So I'll just leave it at that. Now, the other thing that happened yesterday that kind of came out of nowhere, but it's not surprising, and that is that Mikhail Prokhorov has decided to shut down the Nassau Coliseum.
Yeah.
And, and we all understand why, because that business, much like the travel and leisure business, much like the rent-a-car business, much like fleet sales for cars, for car dealers
getting crushed.
Everybody's getting crushed across the economy. And Mikhail Prokhorov basically just said, look, I'll sell somebody, basically the debt on the building. That's what you have to pay, or at least assume, to kill you. Or you just assume the debt, which is about $100 million, plus the lease that you have with Nassau County, which is probably close to $5 million, maybe a little bit less, maybe $4.4 million a year. So now Nassau County has another, hole in its budget, due in large part to the pandemic and what's going on, and because the Nassau Coliseum basically has nothing going on there, much like Madison Square Garden, the Beacon Theater, any sort of place where you would go watch any sort of sporting event or concert or circus or anything like that. So I figured there's two people that can come in and scoop up the Nassau Coliseum to allow at least the Islanders to have another couple of years there before their new building opens at Belmont. I'm not sure how late that is.
Right. Who are these people, Boomer? Give me the names of these people.
Well, one would be Jim Dolan, of course. He the billionaire. But then again, he's losing tons of money too right now.
Why would he want to add this to his plate at this time? Huh?
Well, I'll tell you why. And the other is Scott Reckler of RXR Realty. And the reason I say that, Scott is he's a developer. He's been involved in so many New York things. He was part of the Port Authority, as part of the 9/11 task force. He knows New York inside and out. He knows Long Island inside and out. He lives on Long Island. He's developed a number of buildings. He's got a big real estate investment firm. I mean, this is a guy that basically has everything that you would want to develop around the Nassau Coliseum, and that's really where the numbers are and where they lie, where somebody can, if they go in and they do the right thing there, could actually do pretty well there. And I think it's going to be up to Laura Kern, the Nassau County executive, and the legislative branches of the Nassau County legislature to figure out, what they want to build there. Whether, we don't need another mall. What we need, I'll tell you what we need. We need, and I hate to say this because I know the cluster of hospitals that are in Nassau County. If this pandemic has shown us anything, our medical infrastructure is clearly not able to handle the amount of people that we have in our general vicinities. So some sort of, medical facility with Northwell or something along those lines would make a lot of sense in that area, whether it be teaching, research, genetics, hospital beds, something like that along that line that is all cutting edge, that is all the latest, would make a lot of sense to me around the Nassau Coliseum. And at least the Islanders would have a home over the next, 2 years before their building opens. I'm not panicking right now. I think something will happen there. Probably not immediately, but over the next 6 to 8 months. And the reason I say that is because there's no reason for anybody to assume that debt right now, because you just don't know when any of these buildings are opening.
Yeah, I mean, don't expect anything to happen at a snap of a finger with the Nassau Coliseum. But, I mean, the reason why I think that, an Islander fan shouldn't be panicking is your new building is going up piece by piece every day, and construction is starting over there. And, yeah, there might be a little bit of a gap before you can get in there, and that's going to have to be worked out, whatever it is. Someone swoops in, buys the Coliseum, and you play some games there. It's Barclays Center again, or whatever the hell's going on. But it's not like this is an instance where you're worried about the Islanders having to leave town because they don't have a building. We've seen
they have
that
a building
before.
coming. No,
right,
we know this is a short-term situation. And, Governor Cuomo announced that the Islanders were going to play the rest of their games at the Nassau Coliseum, which was great for the Islander fan, which is great for the franchise, which is a good way of going out of that building, yet still staying in Nassau County when they open Belmont. But right now, they will be the Nomad franchise again until somebody comes in and assumes the debt and the development rights for the area around the Nassau Coliseum. And Reckler seems like the perfect guy to do this. I just don't think it's going to happen. There's no reason to do it right now. I mean, nobody's going in there to assume any sort of debt and pay money on something that they can't use or they can't open for them to make money, at least to pay the lease payments to Nassau County. That's the bad thing for us in the county. We lose the $4.5 to $5 million in lease payments. But the development rights are really where the money lies. And what you are deciding to put there is going to be so important because, like I said, they don't want malls. They may do some housing. They may do some I would imagine some sort of medical center, some sort of, science research center, something like along those lines that supports the medical infrastructure that has been so stretched and so pushed, over the last 4 months. So maybe that's the case. But I think it's one of those two guys. It's either got to be Reckler or it's got to be Jim Dolan. And then, Nassau County's got to do everything they possibly can to incentivize the building over there and keep that thing, afloat and keep it alive and don't let it don't let it fall away into the wind.
Yeah, I mean, last time I was at the Coliseum, and I know there was some renovations done. We understand that the NHL asked for certain things to happen before the Islanders continue to play some games there. But I mean, it is like going back in time. I mean, it doesn't seem like a building where pro sports should be played in right now. And I always thought back to the Charles Wang idea and what was going on back then and how great that would have been. I am not surprised that the Coliseum is in the situation that it's in. And I know there's a lot of people have a lot of memories there, but it's over now, man. It's over. Again, right now. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do with that building? I mean, it's just.
I'll tell you what you're gonna do with that building. You're gonna keep it for concerts. You're gonna keep it for the circus. You're gonna keep it for different things, unless.
Oh, I remember the Longines. That's what you keep it for. Remember that
tennis event?
No, the equestrian, right?
The equestrian event.
The Longines,
right? Yeah. There's also a Long Island Tennis Open that they have in there. But I don't know. For me, if you can build up around it and you can do something along the lines of some professional park office building, I don't know about office buildings anymore. I don't know if those work.
Commercial real estate, yeah.
Right. That's why I'm saying it's got to be in the medical field. It's got to be in the research field. It's got to be in the teaching field where people have to go there in order to make the real estate valuable, and it's probably going to be some living space in terms of townhomes or apartments or something to try to incentivize young people to stay on Long Island as opposed to leaving because of the taxes within the state and in the county. So there's a lot of plans, I'm sure, on the table, but I still think two guys make the most sense unless there's a third or fourth guy in the real estate business in New York, which I'm sure there is, that may have interest if they could get the plans to develop around the Nassau Coliseum through the planning board.